What's My Line? Brought to you by Geritol, the high-potency vitamin iron-rich tonic in liquid or tablets to help you feel stronger. And now, let's all play What's My Line? And now, from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, a bright star in a picture that is breaking records wherever it is playing, The Seven Faces of Dr. Lau. Here he is wearing one of his faces, Tony Randall.
And it's my pleasure to introduce a charming lady whose column appears in literally thousands of newspapers around the globe, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, the pride of Publishers Row, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
If our usually immaculate John Charles Daly looks a bit disheveled tonight, it's because a young lady fan named Jajo Horntoot outside mistook him for Frank Sinatra and tore a couple of buttons off his coat. So here he comes, the buttonless Mr. John Charles Daly.
Good evening, Bennett. Tony, nice to see you with us again, sir.
Thank you.
We have some surprises, I hope, for you in the next half hour. So sharpen up your wits. Here we come. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little bit later in the program. And we'll meet our first challenger after this. And now to meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? N.E. Skinner. Right, sir? Ready? Mr. Skinner, where are you from, sir?
Broken Bow, Nebraska.
Broken Bow, Nebraska.
Right.
Nice to have you with us. Mr. Skinner from Broken Bow, Nebraska. May I present the panel?
Bone or bow?
Bow. Broken Bow. B-E-A-U. I mean B-O-W. And now will you join me over here, Mr. Skinner? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Skinner is self-employed, and he deals in a service. We'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Is it a service that any of us on the panel might have used?
Hardly.
No, I think it's safe to say that under some circumstance it might be possible, but I know for certainty. Well, do I know anything for certainty? With your permission, I will say that under a given set of circumstances, it is possible that one of you on the panel might require the service. So go ahead.
All right. Is it a service that you perform out of doors?
Sometimes.
Is it a service that makes for goodwill?
For goodwill? That covers a lot of ground.
People or animals feel better because of your service.
Well, we'd like to feel they do. don't you
Possibly.
think? Yeah, I think it's possible.
Do you have anything whatsoever to do with farm or animals or farmland?
Yes.
Is it animals rather than land?
Yes.
Your service has to do with a specific animal rather than different animals?
Yes.
Is the animal four-legged?
Yes.
Is it a little rough to manage?
Sometimes.
Is it an animal that is larger than your bread box. No offense. Is it larger
Yes.
than a bread box? Yes. Not necessarily yours. Is it an animal that one could sit upon?
Possibly.
Possible.
Is it an animal whose hide or fur is used for anything
Yes.
useful? Is it used for anything decorative?
I'd say no.
Is it a pig?
Oh, fine, thank you.
I
That
didn't
saved
want you
my
to worry.
scalp. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Randall. Thank you, Arlene.
I was
Mr.
thinking
Skinner.
pig skin. Pardon me, go ahead.
You and I should get together. I'm from a small town just outside of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Where?
Tulsa.
I must say, with a busted bow and a busted arrow, you two wouldn't get very far, now would you? Well, that one fell slightly.
I might have laughed had I been listening. But I was thinking. I should have been listening. Is this a horse?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
But it is something that could be sat upon without injuring the animal.
Without
Yes.
injuring the animal? Mm-hmm. Yes.
May I rule out the entire equine family?
May you rule out the entire equine family? I reckon.
Yes.
I mean, such as mules and things like that?
You rule it out. Mm-hmm.
Is this smaller than a horse,
Yes.
but bigger than a dog?
Yes.
Would you find it on a ranch as well as on a farm?
Yes.
Are these animals sometimes used for food?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, possibly.
Are they considered more like wild animals than domestic animals?
No.
No. We call them domesticated. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Skinner, might these animals be in the deer family?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Might they be in the steer or bull family?
Yes.
I gotta pick the family now, huh? Well, steers you do use for food, but you don't, I hardly ever eat any bull.
I'll eat it, Arlene, but you certainly hand it out.
Well, is the animal a bull?
Yes.
Yes.
You've got to tell us what you...
Now I have to find out what Mr. Skinner does with a bull.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
You're not a bullfighter. No.
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 Are you a bull raiser trainer?
No.
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 That makes it a nice 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Randall.
Am I right in assuming you're not a cowboy?
No, I'm not a cowboy.
Yes, you're right in assuming.
And from something that was said, am I right in assuming that Mr. Skinner raises these bulls for purposes other than food?
No,
No.
you're wrong in a basic assumption there. So that would be 6 down and 4 to go.
Mr. Skinner, you perform a service, do you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you perform a service for the bull or on the bull?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You do something to the bull to make it look prettier, for showing.
Yes.
You groom the bull.
No.
You make its tail fancy.
I'm going to put all the
You
cards...
exhibit the bulls? Are you an
What?
So he
exhibitor?
probably
Rodeo?
sharpens their horns.
Actually, you've all got it, so that we'll clarify. We'll throw all the cards over because the word, I think the verb you're looking for, you might reach for some time to get. It's wash.
Oh.
Mr. Skinner washes bull. He is the head of the Skinner Washing Service, and bulls are washed for show purposes, prior to sale, etc. And I believe, Mr. Skinner, you estimate you've washed 100,000 bulls?
Over 100.
Over 100,000
Do you have a
bulls.
thing like a car wash?
We use a pressure machine.
They soap the bull and then spray him, just as though you spray all the soap
That's so
off.
funny. Look at the way Bennett looked at me for saying that.
Well, how long does the bull stay washed, Mr. Skinner?
Well, depends if you tie them.
Show and sale bulls are usually tied, and they'll stay quite some time.
It's like little
Not
children.
every
You know,
morning.
after you give them a bath, if you tie them, they stay clean. Sometimes if you don't, you give them another bath. That's
Like
about
children.
it. Yeah, just like children. Mr. Skinner, we had a lot of fun with your visit. Thanks very much for being our guest on What's My Line. Now to meet our next challenger, would you enter and sign in, please? Fern V. Miller. Is that right? And is it Miss or Mrs. Miller?
Mrs.
Mrs. Miller, where are you from?
Platteville, Colorado.
Platteville, Colorado.
Yes.
Nice to have you with us. Mrs. Miller, may I present our panel? And now would you join me here, please, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. We can tell you that Mrs. Miller is salaried and deals in a product. And we'll begin the general questioning with Tony Randall.
Mrs. Miller, is this a product that is found in the home?
Could be,
Is it a manufactured product?
yes.
Is it found more in one part of the house than another?
I would say not necessarily. We would have to agree that you could find it pretty generally in the home when it's in the home. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
But, Mrs. Miller, this is something that you might take out of the home and use it somewhere else.
Yes.
Would you ever use it out of doors?
Yes.
Would you use it out of doors, even if you were a city person? You wouldn't have to be a farmer or anything like that.
Yes.
Is it in any way connected with a game or sport?
Is it in any way connected with a game or sport? With your permission, I will agree that it can be considered to be connected in any way with a game or sport, yes.
May I assume that this product is not worn?
Yes, it is not.
No, I would... Here again, it's barely possible that in very rare
Well, then I get a
circumstances
yes.
it might be... Oh, I'm sorry, Dorothy. It's just a reflex action. But
It is really not worn.
fundamentally, it's not supposed
You
to be.
just
It's
sort
not-
of take it along.
That's right.
Is it foldable?
Is it foldable? Foldable.
No.
No. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Miller, does your product have anything to do with the coin of the realm, money?
Yes.
Do you possibly work for the Denver Mint?
Yes.
You are an employee of the Mint. Well, then, have you got anything to do with the coining of possibly Kennedy half-dollars or anything of the sort? The coining of new money?
Actually, I think, Bennett, you've got it. We've got to throw all the cards over in this particular case. The superintendent of the Denver Mint is our guest. And actually, Mrs. Miller was appointed superintendent of the Denver Mint by President Kennedy in 1961.
Yes.
May of 1961.
You have a beautiful city. I just came back from Denver, and I think it's a wonderful city.
Thank
That
you.
it is. That it
Mrs. Miller, tell us something about those Kennedy half-dollars. Are they really in such scant supply that they're now selling, I'm told, for $4 or $5 a piece?
There's no need of that. We're shipping them out. At first, they said there'd be 90 million made before the end of the year. And by the last of June, we will have completed the 90 million. And the director says that we're going to make 150 million before the last day of December. So they should be quite plentiful.
Thank
But
you.
Mrs. Miller, we read here in New York occasionally stories which indicate that there is a shortage of some small coins. Is this continuing, or is this just a matter of catching up with a suddenly found want?
is still continuing. There's so many machines that take coins and meters and things of that type that there is a shortage. The Denver Mint has been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the last 6
Just trying
weeks.
to catch up. I know that Bennett would be very glad to help if you just show him how to make them. He'll make some at home for you. Well, I must say, Mrs. Miller has asked me to say that, and one reason I flipped all the cards is that whatever score she won tonight was to go to the Kennedy Library, and we'd be glad to see that it's forward. And thank you very much for being our guest. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment after this message. And now the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which the members of the panel are blindfolded. Are the Dorothy? Blindfolds, please. Are the blindfolds all in place now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in this case, we have a different form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we'll begin with Bennett Cerf.
Has music played any part in your career?
Oh, well, darling. No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
That was no, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you best known for your work in motion pictures?
Oh, well, I think so.
Mr. Randall?
Do you live in New York City?
Oh, no, I don't.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you a beautiful blonde?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Cerf.
Are you any relation of a very famous family which includes 3 sisters?
Oh, no, darling.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you, there are many openings next week. Are you in any of the pictures that are opening in New York next week?
Yes, I'm under the openings, yes.
Mr. Randall.
Have we ever met?
Oh, well, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Miss Kilgallen.
How ungallant of me not to recognize your voice. But then I never listen.
Have we ever met on an island in the Caribbean?
Well, we have met, and I think so.
Mr. Cerf.
Are you one of the stars in the Carpetbaggers?
Yeah.
Are you Carol Baker?
Yes.
Yes, Tony.
I was going to say, did I ever save your children in a hurricane?
Yes, you did.
But when you said you didn't live in New York, have you moved?
Yes, we moved this past year.
But you can't just drop this out and leave it. What happened when you saved Carol's children?
I was out at Fire Island several years ago, and a hurricane was coming, and we were being evacuated, and I grabbed her children and put them on the boat.
That's
Oh,
right.
for heaven's
How
sake.
come you didn't grab her?
It just goes to show that duty, by golly, still has its place in this great land of ours. The Carpetbaggers opens on
The 1st of
the
July.
1st of July here in New York, but it's showing, actually, in Los Angeles and Boston.
Oh, yes, it's opened about 25
and doing very well all over the place.
Yes, beautifully.
Larry Bryan told me it was doing well everywhere, so that's good. And a remarkably pretty young lady, and certainly blonde.
And a very nasty little imitation of one of the Gabor girls.
Well, you know, it wasn't really an imitation of the Gabors. It was an imitation of Debbie Reynolds doing an imitation of the Gabors.
Well, it was very well done, Miss Carroll.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming to visit us. Well, how long are you to be in New York?
Through the 4th.
Oh, through the 4th. You going out to see the World's Fair?
Oh, yes, indeed.
That's a girl. It's a great sight. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Nice to have you there. admit, panel, you've done very well, so congratulations. We'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate sponsor. And now, our final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? J.E. Metzger, right there? All righty. Metzger, where are you from?
White Plains, New York.
White Plains, New York. Nice to have you with us. May I present the panel, Mr. Metzger? Now, if you'll join me over here, we'll tell everybody in the theater and the folks who are at home, that is everybody but our friends on the panel, exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Metzger is salaried and he deals in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Metzger, could I use your product?
Pardon me?
Could I use your product?
Yes, you would.
Would I ever use it in my home?
Yes.
Would it be used in a particular room in the house rather than any room?
Any room. Any room.
Well, I would say this with Mr. Metzger's approval. It could be used in any room, but we would tend to agree that you might particularize its use as a matter of family custom. Would you agree to that?
That is, I agree.
Would I particularize it down to the kitchen and dining room, perhaps?
That'd be likely.
Is there anything edible about your product?
Yes.
It could be described as food.
Yes, you would.
Is it something that comes packaged?
I would say so.
Either in a box or a tin or glass or something like that. After I got it, would I cook it?
No.
No. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Metzger, up in Mount Kisco, we consider the White Plains the Deep South, if you know that. But never mind.
He lives up in Mount Kisco.
Yes,
He's
yeah.
untowardly proud of the fact. Just humor him. He'll quiet down in a bit.
Mr. Metzger, has this food ever been alive?
Yes.
The food ever been alive?
Qualified, yes.
Well, you're too generous. I'm going to give him a no, because we have terms of reference, Mr. Metzger. This would mislead them so if we agreed that the food itself
I'd rather
was alive.
trust Mr. Metzger than you, John.
You're stuck anyway, pal. Miss Francis?
Is this food solid rather than liquid?
Solid rather than liquid.
Rather.
It's rather solid. It's loosely solid, right?
Loosely solid.
Is there, the audience was amused by whatever this product is or your occupation in association with this product. Is there anything entertaining about this particular food?
No,
Would
I
it
don't think
make for laughter? No.
I wouldn't think so. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Randall.
Is this an animal product in the sense of being in the dairy family?
Yes, yes.
It's a milk product of some sort.
Yes.
Is it ice cream?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
When it is it served at room temperature?
Is it served in?
At
At
room
room
temperature.
temperature.
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Is there anything cheesy about your product, Mr. Metzger?
Mr. Cerf, if you please.
No.
No. And we've run out of time, so I'm going to throw all the cards over. You deserve a small medal because you're in the right area. Actually, Mr. Metzger is the head of the Dannon Yogurt Company.
That's exactly.
And on that happy note that there's nothing cheesy about us anyway, good night, Arlene Francis, and
Good
nice to
night.
have you with us, Tony. Thank you.
Good night, dear Tony. Have a good time in England.
Thank you, sweets. Good night.
Good night, dear. Come again. Good night, Bennett.
I think I must announce that yogurt is not my favorite food. Good night, John.
Now, there's a fact that will go down in history meaning absolutely nothing at all, and thank you for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Tutton. Johnny Olson speaking.